This is Warren Mooney. You're listening to the Eskimo Empire Podcast. Keep supporting the Eskimos.
You are listening to the Eskimo Empire Podcast, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Empire. It's the Eskimo Empire Podcast.
Here's Mike Riley, takes the drop, waits and throws, and he's going deep downfield. And Darius Bowman. Oh my goodness, what a catch by Darius Bowman. You won't see many better than that. Franklin to Zylstra, touchdown Eskimos. Pressure's coming. Oh, Levi Mitchell goes down. There's a big play for the defense. Somersaults for everybody.
Welcome back to the Turf District for episode 100 of the Eskimo Empire Podcast, brought to you by Provincial Sleep Group. Visit psgi.ca and take your sleep quiz today. I am your host, Andrew. I am amazed and humbled that we have enough people listening to get to this achievement, so thank you again for downloading and having a listen. Make sure you do the same for all the great Canadian Football Podcast Network shows. And another shout out to BC Lions Den, as I know they also record episode 100 this week. I kind of prematurely announced it last week, but it was on this week because they had to move it. So congrats to you guys as well. We have a lot on this show for you, including a couple announcements. We will cover the week of games from the CFL last week, including another nail-biter win for the 7-0 Eskimos, another Eskimo history segment, some Esks news, our PickEms for this week, and as you saw in the title of the show, yes, it really happened. We talked to Warren Moon for episode 100. Joining me as always, and just as giddy as I am, it is Superfan Mike. How are you, my friend? Wonderful. That's absolutely... Do we call you Orca now? Or?
Yeah,
no?
exactly. No, that's been taken. What an episode this is going to be. We've been waiting for it for a while, and it's finally here, and couldn't be more excited, let's be honest.
I can't believe it actually happened.
Yes.
So we will get to that interview in a short while, but that is amazing that we got to talk to one of our heroes.
Biggest influences, one of the reasons that we're here, period. So.
Absolutely.
Kitty.
Exactly. Well, let's get to surprise number one.
Yes, let's.
I'm very excited. So the Empire is now growing. We announced it on the Periscope. We will be starting a web page very soon. And as it turns out, we have a brand new Web Mistress.
It's true.
Joining the Empire team and here on the show tonight, it is Miss Kayla. How are you?
Howdy.
Oh, we are so glad you are back and welcome to the team.
Thank you so much. So excited.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. And the website's going to be eskempire.ca. You're going to find Kayla's Esk Empire blog. Mm-hmm. See, it's very close to Esk Empire
it's true.
Pod. It's like I worked it out.
It's like it's perfect.
But you worked it out and I just repeated it. Okay.
Whatever.
And of course, our show feed from the Esk Empire Pod will be there. And of course, some more show pictures and different pictures as we're going forward. We will start to build that. And of course, she's going to join us once every month as well to go over some Esks news and kind of what's to come on the site. So welcome aboard.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
Yeah, so are we.
Just be aware, guys, I'm not stalking you, football players. This is my job now, so calm down. You'll see my face.
See how helpful we were?
Thanks, guys.
Plausible deniability.
Oh, the real reason comes out.
the safety zone.
Eskimo Empire alibi.
That's my touchdown.
Oh, wow. I quite like that. That was well played. Well done, Superfan. Now, of course, us being able to launch the website really much in part to our Patreon backers.
Absolutely.
So thank you again. If you do want to join in to help there, make sure you jump in at patreon.com/EskEmpirePod. The song will come later.
Oh, we can hardly wait.
I know. It's the most exciting thing about the show. All right. First, before we get to anything, let's talk about this past week's game. Once again, the Esks squeak out another win, 27-20 over Ottawa. And once again, we have two major injuries. Howard, who had to be lifted off the field, and Sewell, who went off in a fair amount of pain, but on Twitter said, I really appreciate everyone's concerns. I'm doing great. No elaboration on that, but it seems somewhat promising.
Yeah, I can only hope that it's certainly nothing that's broken and can keep him out for the rest of the year. But if it's something that's just going to be a few weeks, even just a single 6 game, he'll be rested and ready for that playoff push at the end, and we're going to need him. He is the straw that stirs that drink on that defensive line. So
it's pretty positive, too, because I was listening to Ched just on the way here, and Moss was talking about Armando, and it seemed like, there was a little bit of an injury, but nothing as drastic as it looked.
Good.
Okay.
Hopefully. So he was pretty positive about his return, whether it's this game or the next or beyond that.
Yeah, he might have to miss one. But
yeah. Well, just to be safe, I'd almost prefer that.
Yes.
Just in case, but...
Yeah, we don't want a long-term injury out of what could have been a short-term.
Yeah.
Right?
No, and we've got great guys that have been in the lineup for a while. With Bowers has been rotating in. We've got Mike Moore, who has been in and out of the lineup as well, so he's well-versed with Benny's schemes and everything else. So at least we have that. So
yeah,
it's not going to be, you can't really replace Armando, but you can at least put some guys in there that can do a lot of damage.
Yeah, well, and Mike, you were telling me, too, there's some guys that are returning, or supposedly returning this week that were at practice today.
Yeah,
as
absolutely. It was reported, Dave Campbell from Ched had tweeted out that we've got Duke Williams had practiced today.
Great.
And a couple of guys on that offensive line in Danny Grew and Justin Sorensen.
Here's hoping.
We're out there. And then defensive backfield, Gary Peters was another guy that was there. So those are 4 guys that we can sorely use for sure.
Well, pretty much guys in general.
Well, yeah. But having Sorensen and Grew means we can go with 3 non-imports.
That's right.
On that offensive line, which is a huge difference for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, okay, so this game, let's talk about first impressions. Kayla, what kind of jumped out at you in the Ottawa game?
Oh, gosh. Come to me first, eh? So unprepared.
Welcome to the team.
That's the initiation. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, I wasn't swearing as much. That's a good thing.
That is definitely a good sign.
Yeah. I'm actually really pleased with the return game. Just how much it has improved just in the last half of this season already. Having a good returner is one of my favorite things. I love running backs and I love a good return. Anything that gets acceleration. So seeing actually Ladarius out there performing was an honor to see his speed. But I think my highlight would definitely be the Hugh O'Neill kick. That pin.
Yeah, 1 yard.
Oh, that is
absolutely.
That is glorious. I can't believe that wasn't in the highlights. Tisk. That was...
That's the turning point of the game.
Absolutely.
Like, Hugh, thank you.
Yeah.
Let's hear it for the Hugh Billy.
Yes.
Exactly. Well,
yes.
and you know what's funny? Because even last week I said if Hightower wasn't returning, that I'd be watching Hugh O'Neill.
Yep.
And what a game. 4 for 5.
Yeah, not too shabby.
Yeah.
The only one he missed was the 49-yarder at the end of the game. I mean, offense, just get 5 more yards. He probably would have nailed it.
Yeah, right.
But amazing game. I wrote it down because it just blew my mind. 42.2 average on net punts.
Yeah, absolutely. He's
That's
leading
crazy
the league
on
in
net.
average.
That's nuts. And then 52 average net on kickoffs. That is a huge benefit.
Absolutely.
Now, as I say that, I don't want to take anything away from Mr. White, Money White. We all know how much of big fans we are of him, but we need Hugh O'Neill to have games like this at this point, and that was just an amazing game by him. Good call.
And it's been a luxury too, because with White, we expect a good field goal or whatever, right? So it was disappointing for me to see that being missed because we're just so used to it. We're just so used to, that 49... easy peas. So I felt a little bad because I was like, oh, well, we could have had it. So I apologize to Hugh. I know he wouldn't have known any different if I didn't say anything, but I feel like I had to own up to my mushersness. And I also heard, too, Jason Moss talking on Ched again that he was watching Hugh out of work for a year and a half practicing. And dedication like that deserves to be shown. And I think now that he has that opportunity, he's going to just go flying. And he's already proved it by this last game. So I'm really excited to see a little bit more of him. And if Sean comes back, hopefully we can keep him as a punter because, he is a fantastic punter.
And his kickoffs, too.
Yeah. Unreal. Yeah. Absolutely. I think that tandem is, if we can pull it off, if we have the roster spots, I think it's a good choice at this point.
To me, it's not just that he's getting that 42, 52-yard net. It's so high as well, so it allows that cover team to get there.
Yeah.
And by the time the guy gets the ball, he's already surrounded, which has just been fantastic.
Beautiful sail on those.
Great coverage. Yeah. All right, Superfan, what stood out for you in this game?
Well, I mean, as Kayla said, I love to watch the running backs as well, and I thought
No
Perkins...
kidding.
I know. New this year. And I thought Perkins had another great game. He was a guy that we were really impressed with in camp.
Yes.
I mean, I had him probably a little bit ahead of Trayvon Van, if not right up with beside him. And the fact we were able to keep him on the practice roster was outstanding.
Yes.
And obviously quite needed.
Yeah, no kidding.
I thought he was great. Bryant Mitchell, another fantastic game, over 100 yards yet again.
Yep.
He has slowly...
And he caught all 7 targets that came to him.
Yeah.
He's quietly just proven that he is once again a force. I mean, you look at him in fantasy, and he's still so cheap.
I know. I got killer points out of that.
I'm just like, I'll take him every day with that kind of rate. So,
well, and Perkins. Like, Perkins was only 3,600 on
exactly
CFL, TSN.
They've been on my fantasy for the last 3 weeks.
Exactly. Both of them.
I'll take them.
Yeah.
So I thought they did well. Obviously, the defensive line was just absolutely crushed with those injuries. Fortunately, they were later in the game.
Yeah.
Howard was the last drive of that game, but that one was a heart stopper.
Yeah.
But you know what? The defense, even though it's gone through all of these changes and things, they completely shut it down in the fourth. And that's the part that just it continues to amaze me with this team, is that it is kind of a bend don't break defense with Benny, and that's fine. We've now learned how it works, and we can wrap our heads around it. But in the fourth quarter, they still have gas, and they just play so well.
Yeah, well, Benny's got that very different kind of defensive pressure that Chris Jones had.
Yeah.
Chris Jones is very much about disguising what's coming,
where the pressure's
dropping
coming from.
guys into coverage. I mean, we saw guys like Odell dropping the coverage,
Yes.
even Mondo dropping into coverage a couple of years ago. Whereas Benny is more get as much pressure as you can and really support those guys in the back end. But to be able to see that kind of pressure consistent throughout the game, and in the fourth quarter, there was a stat on Twitter that in the last 4 games, we've outscored opponents 47-12 in the fourth quarter. So an average of basically 12-4 in the fourth quarter. And with that kind of maintaining the ball and getting points, stopping them from getting points, it's no wonder we're 7-0.
Third quarters, I think, have been the roughest one for us.
Yeah.
First quarter, we're improving
first
now.
quarter, yeah. First quarter is better now. Yeah, but that third
it's
quarter.
Like, after that half, and we're still winning games, but I think in order to keep that momentum going, it has to be every single quarter. And I think that's where it comes down to that gritty time is, you can't give way in any point in the CFL. So I'm just hoping that the momentum stays rather than kind of fluctuates. And I know it's game and it's tiring and you kind of lose momentum anyway coming out of the half, but I'm hoping that it can kind of turn around and that drive can stay there, because that's the one thing that I find always concerns me is coming out of that half and it's kind of like stagnant.
And you know what? I agree with you. I think one of the things that I've kind of thought about that, though, is that the other team makes halftime adjustments, and by 3/4 of the way through the third quarter, Benny has made the adjustments back the other way, and next thing you know, and that's why you see it in the fourth quarter. But I think that's kind of how it plays out. But,
which is fair.
But I agree with you. I mean, the consistency would be fantastic, right? Like that's definitely what we want. We have to mention him again, Mr. Mike Riley. 27 of 38, 384 yards, 2 TDs. Now he did have the 2 INTs. One definitely not his fault.
I don't know. They were both deflections. So
I'm sorry, but
the one should have been a TD.
To be fair, though, he had an interception, which means he also had a tackle.
That's right. And that blew my mind.
Oh, silver lining, Mike.
And he did actually run for 51 yards too. Right. That's probably the most we've seen him run all year. But
by far.
Actually, the one that blew my mind, because the O-line, of course, being kind of pieced together, they only give away 1 sack. But part of that was because that one play where Riley played Houdini and ducked under that guy. I don't even know how he got out of that.
Brilliant.
And then he ran for like 12 yards. I'm like, did that really just happen? Yeah. Like, I can't believe he just whoop. Just
he's been watching John White and that sort of slippery get out of the tackle.
He's Magic Mike.
Last part of this that I do want to ask you guys about, the canoe celebration at the end after Adams gets the interception.
Yes.
And the swim after from Mercy
And the
Maston.
swim from Mercy Maston coming in. It's met with some mixed reviews.
Yep.
As everything always is.
From fans and people from other teams.
Yeah.
The one that actually I kind of laughed about is that was really Calgary-ish.
Yeah.
Shocking.
And I get that. On the other hand, for a team that is this beat up and changing every week, it's kind of nice to see that they're all playing as a team.
Yeah, and you know what? I've kind of come around on this. I mean, we're older, so we've come from that sort of Brian Kelly, act like you've been there before and you're going to be there again. But at the same time, these guys are having fun.
Yeah.
They're out there having fun and telling us there's so many rules, so many things you can't do anymore, excessive celebration, etc. Let them blow off the steam and let them be excited.
And it was one time. It's not like they're doing it after
every touchdown.
And this was a big one.
And it wasn't like they were doing something towards the Ottawa team.
No.
It was they were doing their own thing.
Yeah.
And
we have as many complaints last year in the East Final about the Snow Angels. I mean,
exactly. And
let them do it.
Hey, same spot. Interesting. So as much as we maybe aren't fans of Snow Angels, maybe Janine doesn't like canoes now.
That's right.
Maybe. I'll have to talk to her about that. All right.
Give him a life jacket.
I wanted to give her some time before I said that.
In the meantime, I'm going to cheer for Ottawa the rest of the season.
Absolutely.
And Hamilton.
Yes.
It's make it really difficult this next game, but
I would really like
since
that.
we don't play either one again in the regular season.
All right. Well, we didn't. We already talked about our players returning, so there's no real other Esks notes for this week. So I guess just now we are 7-0. Now, there's only 12 other teams that have started a season that way, so 13 teams in total. But as it turns out, that is only a third of how many amazing Esks History segments we've had. So I think it's time to continue that streak right now. Let's go to our Esks History segment.
Let's hear you cheer and holler for a mighty famous team. Let's hear you roar, you know what, for a team that's on the beat. Our voices rise up to the skies, the fans are glad to scream. We love those Eskimos.
Welcome to This Week in Eskimos History. This week we'll be talking about some significant Eskimo dates from August 15th to 21st. Celebrating a birthday this week on August 16th, Bryant Mitchell, receiver 2016 to present, will turn 25, so be sure to wish him a happy quarter century. Another birthday in the Empire, current head of the Edmonton Eskimos Alumni Association, former linebacker Bob Clark, with the team in 1973, will be 68 years old on August 17th. And looking at significant passings during this week, August 17th, 1995. On this date, 22 years ago, Rolly Miles passed away at the age of 68. If you haven't already listened to episode 98 of the Eskimo Empire podcast, download it and give it a listen as we talk about the amazing life and career of one of the greatest Edmonton Eskimos of all time. Looking back now at some important dates in the Empire, August 21st, 1950. The Edmonton Eskimos play in their first ever exhibition game since coming back into the league the previous year and knock off an Eastern powerhouse and reigning Grey Cup champion Montreal Alouettes 11-6. It would be the first time that the Green and Gold faced an Eastern team from the Big Four League and showed real promise after a debut season in 1949 when Edmonton went 4-10. The game marks head coach Anis Stukas' return to the field since playing for the Toronto Indians in 1945 and 1946, and Big Stuke showed he still had it by kicking a 38-yard field goal to go along with a convert on Don Simon's touchdown. The game marked the Esks' debut of lethal passing pair quarterback Lindy Berry and receiver Morris Bailey, who Stukas had recruited out of Texas Christian University. Berry would go on to win the Jeff Nicklin Memorial Trophy as most outstanding player in the Western Union. The two imports were known as the Berry to Bailey Battery and continued lighting it up in Canadian football for 2 years. Looking at August 16th, 1963, Jackie Parker's first game back in Edmonton after being traded to the Argonauts in the off-season is their loss, and the first of only 2 wins that season for the rebuilding Edmonton Eskimos, as they beat heavily favored Toronto 17-16. Bill Mitchell's convert on Tommy Joe Coffey's fourth quarter 77-yard catch-and-run from quarterback Don Getty proves to be the winning points. Parker was given a huge ovation by the Edmonton faithful as they showed him love for the 9 years he dazzled Edmontonians and football fans everywhere. And lastly, August 21st, 1979. After going into halftime tied 13-13, the Eskimos score 28 unanswered points to down the Blue Bombers 41-13 in front of over 42,000 fans in Winnipeg, bringing the reigning Grey Cup champs record to 5 wins, 0 losses, and 2 ties. Both Stu Lang and Brian Kelly finished with over 100 yards receiving, and Warren Moon came in for a single play, a 20-yard strike to Tommy Scott for a touchdown, giving him a perfect quarterback rating. Not to be outdone, Waddell Smith lobbed a 36-yard touchdown pass to Stu Lang after Wilkinson gave Smith the ball on a lateral in the third quarter, also with a perfect quarterback rating, to go along with his touchdown reception in the first half. The Eskimos would go 7-2 for the rest of that season, finishing in first place in the West Division for the third consecutive year, and would also face the Montreal Alouettes for the third straight time, beating them 17-9 in their second win in the 5-in-a-row dynasty. Thank you again for listening to another episode of This Week in Eskimos History. Please follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Esks History, or find us on Facebook under This Day in Esks History. Until next week, fight on, Eskimos.
Going for a touchdown. Going for a touchdown. Going for a touchdown. We love those Eskimos.
Another wonderful trip down memory lane, superfan. I think we should do more of that for episode 100. How about we talk to one of the greatest quarterbacks to wear the green and gold?
Yes, let's.
It actually happened, people. Let's go to our chat with the one and only number one in your program and heart, Mr. Warren Moon. We now welcome one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game and one of the men to lead the 5-in-a-row Esks 80s dynasty, Mr. Warren Moon. Mr. Moon, welcome to the Turf District, and we are honored to have you on for episode 100.
Well, thanks for having me on the show. I look forward to talking to you guys and going down memory lane a little bit.
Fantastic. Now, a lot of us know the story of how you ended up, of course, playing in Canada, but when did you actually first get introduced to football and start playing when you were in the States?
I started playing organized football when I was about 10 years old. My mom got me involved in different types of sports, basketball, also baseball, Little League baseball, when I was young, because my dad passed away when I was 7, and she wanted me to be around a lot more boys and also other male mentors in my life, because without having a dad and having 6 sisters at home, there was just a lot of women around.
So in 1978, you won the Rose Bowl and then came up to Edmonton, of course. What was your first impression when you got to the Eskimos, both in a sense of culture shock and the differences in the CFL game?
Well, when they brought me up for a visit just to see the city and that and meet some of the people in the organization, it was in February or March, and there was probably 3 or 4 feet of snow on the stadium. The Commonwealth Stadium was still under construction, and I'm looking over at Clark Stadium, which was the place that we were going to play our games. It was about a 26,000 seat stadium, and I'm like, okay, this is big time football. This is what they're trying to sell me on. But the fact that the stadium was so beautiful, even though you couldn't see the field because of all the snow, it gave me like once it was completed, because I got a chance to see pictures. I met all of the organization. I knew it was going to be cold there initially, so that didn't shock me. But still, when you see it for the first time, it makes you wonder: is this where I can play football and be happy? But I ended up signing up there anyway, just because it felt like my chance as a quarterback, and that's the one thing that I wanted out of anywhere that I was going to play professionally. I didn't care if I was going to go after it. So I went to Edmonton, and I've never looked back since.
Wow, that's amazing just to hear your side, especially that first impression, because I can only imagine that was like all this snow. What am I doing playing for your Canada?
In a stadium the size of a high school.
Well, just the ride in from the airport to the city, it was a culture shock right there. Because that's at that time it was a 20-mile ride of just nothing but farmland and snow at that particular time all over. I'm like, where is the city? You see the city from the airport, but finally I saw the high rises as we got closer and found out that there was a city there.
Now, that first year that you came here, of course, you went on to win the Grey Cup, which was kind of a nice intro, and then 4 more. Is there one of those games that really stands out to you the most?
Probably the one, Wilkie and I, we a lot of time, Tom Wilkinson and myself, we shared a lot of time as far as the quarterback position, but then there was a time where Wilkie was gone and I had to kind of take it over by myself. And that was probably the most important one, because I didn't want to be the one that was responsible for breaking the streak, You wanted to make sure you lived up to the stance we're all about. So there was a little bit more pressure on me that year because I was taking over the reins basically by myself, and winning that Grey Cup, and I was MVP. So that was probably a special one. But they were all there winning championships as a football team or in any type of sport. It's just a great collection of unity, a great collection of sportsmanship, everybody working towards one goal, and those memories last for a long time.
So you were surrounded by some great people during the 5 in a row time when you were here. We're going to do a little word association with some people here. We'll just give a name. You just give 1 or 2 words or a sentence or a paragraph, whatever you like, whatever you feel. So let's start with Hugh Campbell. Okay,
Hugh Campbell, to me, a guy that gave me an opportunity to go back and believed in me as a professional quarterback, and a few other coaches did believe, recognizing my talents and giving me an opportunity.
That is awesome. We're going to move across the field there. We're going to go to Tom Wilkinson.
Tom Wilkinson was the ultimate team guy. He really welcomed me with open arms. He didn't have to be as receptive as he was to me because eventually I was going to be the guy that was going to take his job, but he showed me how to play the game. He showed me how to manipulate different defenses, showed me how to study, and really was a big benefactor for me as far as learning the Canadian Football League game.
Awesome. Let's do someone that's a little underrated. I don't hear a lot about him. Jim Germany.
He was probably one of my closest friends on the team. We had many nights of dinners together. He was a guy he was a complete running back, could do it all. He could catch the football, he could run with toughness, he could run with breakaway speed, and he could block. So he was one of those guys you never had to take him off the field. One of the unsung heroes on our football team. Very, very underrated.
That is awesome. Okay, we're going to do one more. Someone that you had a lot of chemistry with, Brian Kelly.
Yeah, Howdy Doody. That was his nickname, and we spent a lot of time working out together and perfecting our timing, perfecting our chemistry. He went to school at Washington State, which is a rival of my university, University of Washington, but you would have never known the way we came together when we came up to Edmonton together, and we had some great completions together, some big-time completions, and one of the great receivers to ever play in the CFL.
Absolutely. Now, you then obviously moved on from here, went to the NFL, and did so well that you ended up in both Halls of Fame. Tell us how that feels to be in both halls.
It's something that I'm very proud of because I know that I worked my tail off in both leagues when I was there. When I was in Canada, I worked very hard to be the best player that I could be and adapt to the differences in the game there. And I also played very, very well and worked very hard when I came to the National Football League to try and be one of the best there, too, because that's always been my goal. And that's one of the reasons I wore that number 1 on my chest, was to always strive to be the best player that I could be. And hopefully my team would see that number and strive to be the best team that we could be. So that number 1 had a lot of meaning to me. And to be able to be the only player in both Hall of Fames is something I'm very, very proud of. And something that I know I earned because of the work that I put in.
That is awesome. So we know that you've been sort of keeping touch with the Esks still, and the current quarterback, Mike Riley, just caught you for a couple of different spots there on his list. So what do you think of the Eskimos today at 7-0?
I think they're off to a tremendous start, and that's what it really takes in the CFL to get off to a good start and kind of build on that momentum. That Mike has been a very good quarterback up there for a long time, and he's having an excellent year this year. It takes the quarterback in Canada to really have a good season for your team to be good because there's so much put on the quarterback up there, the way the rules are geared towards throwing the football. So I'm happy for Mike, because he's played a long time, and I don't know how many more years he has left, but he is really playing at the top of his game right now, and this team has an excellent shot of not only going to the playoffs, but also winning another cup for the city of Edmonton.
Oh, we like it when you say stuff like that. That's fantastic. We want to get you out on this question. It's one that we ask all of our alumni, players, and fans that we get on, and that's what does the Eskimo way mean to you?
Well, first of all, the Eskimo way means pride. Having pride not only in the organization, but pride in the city of Edmonton, because we have great fans there in Edmonton that really help our football team be successful. You feel that pride, you feel that enthusiasm, you feel the city being behind you as a whole. That's something that I was really encouraged about when I first went up there. It also means playing at a very, very high level because you have high standards. Because this team has been around for a long time. There's a great tradition there. It's a tradition of winning. So when you come into that city, you know that you're expected to win and expected to play at a high level. So that's part of the Edmonton Eskimo way is that togetherness with the football team, the organization, and the city of Edmonton, and then the pride that comes along with that, and then the expectations of winning because of the great tradition.
Wow, I think you just won for best answer of Eskimo Way question. That was fantastic. We can't we can't thank you enough for taking some time to be on our show. But I do want to say thank you for all you did when you were here, not only on the field but in the community as well. For guys like myself and for Mike, you were a real live hero. And someone to look up to and aspire to be like. And it just so happens you were a big part in introducing us to this game that we now love so much. So thank you for all that you did, all that you do now, and what you stand for in the Eskimo Empire and the CFL. Where do people find you and your charities that you're working online now? Where do they find those things to help out?
Well, if they want to find me on social media, I'm at WMoon1 on Twitter. I also have a sports marketing company called Sports One Marketing. You can get that at sportsonemarketing.com. It'll tell you a lot of the things that we're doing as a company. And then I have a foundation that I started back in 1989 called the Crescent Moon Foundation. And you can find out about the foundation at crescentmoon.org to find out what we're doing with our foundation. So those are ways you can get a hold of Warren Moon. And, I'm just happy that I got a chance to play such a great game for such a long time and have so much success. And I'm very grateful for the opportunities that people gave me to show what I could do. And that's why I'm so indebted to the Canadian Football League and to Hugh Campbell and the organization in Edmonton for giving me that chance and believing in me that I could play the game. And I didn't want to do anything to upset them or let down their expectations. So that was part of the reason for my motivation, because whenever somebody gives you an opportunity, you want to make sure that they weren't wrong in doing that. And I love the Canadian in Canada because of that.
And we love you back for it. That's basically how it works. So also, if you're ever in town, you're welcome to come by the Turf District for a beer anytime you would like. We're the door is always open. But again,
the next time I'm in town, I know how to get a hold of you guys. I'll make sure I'll look you up on that. So don't act like you don't know who I am if I call you. All right.
If my phone rings and your name appears on it, I guarantee I'm going to answer. I don't guarantee that my voice might crack, but I will definitely answer the phone.
Well, thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, so that was amazing. Oh my goodness, superfan! I held it together. I think that's very important to note.
I'm not sure I did, but I don't remember much of anything at this point. I just remember just being kind of giddy and floating on a cloud.
I'm going to have to listen to it 3 times just so that I know what he said. It was so awesome. I'm so glad he came on. That was amazing. Let's take a really quick break and be back with our out-of-town scoreboard, the game preview against Winnipeg, and of course this week's CFL PickEm.
This is Blake Dermott, and you're listening to the Eskimo Empire Podcast.
This is Tom Richards, and you're listening to the Eskimo Empire Podcast.
Hey, this is Ryan King, Grey Cup champ.
And Calvin McCarty, also Grey Cup champ.
And you are listening to the Eskimo Empire Podcast.
This is Quake Boating, and listen to the Eskimo Empire Podcast.
Hey, this is Jed Roberts, and you're listening to the Eskimo Empire Podcast.
This is Rashad Jinsey, and you're listening to the Eskimo Empire Podcast.
This is David Sanchez, and you're listening to the Eskimo Empire Podcast.
The Eskimo Empire Podcast is brought to you by Provincial Sleep Group. Do you snore? Are you tired during the day? Check out the website at psgi.ca. Take the quick sleep quiz and see if you need a free sleep study. Provincial Sleep Group, helping the Empire get a better night's sleep. Hey guys, do you know there's even more ways to interact with the Empire online?
What?
That's right, you can find us on Twitter at EskEmpirePod, on Facebook under the Eskimo Empire Podcast group, on Instagram at EskEmpirePod, and you can also follow us on YouTube under our channel, the Eskimo Empire Podcast. Now, I know you guys like that Eskimo History segment, right?
Yeah!
You can follow more of that information at Esks History on Twitter, and you can find it on This Day in Esks History on Facebook. Don't forget to share, okay?
Okay!
Thanks so much for listening. Let's get back to the show. Patreon, patreon.com/EskEmpirePod. Does it sound better every week? I don't know.
I think so, especially this week.
I'm really working on the timbre of my voice. I don't know if you've noticed. Thank you to everyone for supporting the show. And we have a new patron this week in Linda.
Yay.
So thank you very much.
Shout outs, of course, as always, to our Hall of Famers. We've got Joe, Jedi, Bill, Hippie, and Brazilian Ty. So thank you again. All your support is great, helping build the empire, including the new website that we talked about earlier.
Absolutely. And remember that sharing is caring, as is leaving 5-star reviews and subscribing. But if you want to help out even more, join us on Patreon. Speaking of sharing, Empire Points update. Joe Balaneski is up in front, but he is tied now with Chris Curtis. Coach Vic into second. Joe Pritchard and Karen Kay are tied in fourth. And then Leanne and Lord Touchdown are right there. And I don't know if you saw Lord Touchdown's magic cards that he made. But those are friggin' amazing.
I know.
So many points. I was so excited. That was so well. I can't wait to play a game against those.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. Eskimo Warrior. Just, so brilliant. So well done. So race is heating up on there. So make sure that you take steps to get into that top 10. Because if you get into the top 10, then you were going to be entered into the draw for the Shamad Chambers jersey. Now, having a little fun this week, because of course it is episode 100.
Yes, let's.
We're going to change it up a little bit.
Ooh.
So every share that this show gets over the next week, so until the Sunday night, then on Monday during the Periscope for episode 101, we will draw a name of those people who have shared the show, and they will win the Grey Cup 2010 helmet.
Oh, that's a heck of a prize.
Well, you know what? I figure it's a heck of a show. We better give out to those people who are going to share the show. So
I agree.
Share that out and get a chance to win that helmet, and we will get it to you. Let's go to the Joe Adarius for Autism watch. It's now up to $51 because, of course, Bryant Mitchell had another good game, as we already talked about. So good for him. He can just keep racking up those dollars for Adarius.
Good for him. Good for Darius for Autism.
Absolutely. We'll take it. Let's go to our out-of-town scoreboard superfan, brought to you by SeatGiant.ca, where they have tickets for all CFL games and all in Canadian dollars. Plus, they have, of course, concerts, theater, events. Use the code
Fire Trucker.
Get a discount and, of course, help out the show as well. So let's go over last week's games. You're on.
You bet. So Friday Night Football this week brought us Montreal-Toronto. Ooh, that was not as close as some people would have liked. Montreal 21, Toronto 9.
A whole lot of yikes. Does Toronto need a quarterback?
Yeah, the Ricky Ray watch is in full effect right now, and I haven't heard anything from today's practice, but if he is not practicing, they better hope he's there tomorrow.
Yeah, no kidding. As is, I'm sure, the Turtle watch coming out of Toronto. I'm sure that's happening before too terribly long.
Hey, it's not happening.
I like that.
Moving on to Saturday's game, we had Winnipeg 39 decimating Hamilton 12.
Wow, so that's
about it.
Pretty much as expected.
Well, I don't know if I expected it to be that dominant after our game with them, but yeah, I think that most everyone picked Winnipeg to win. A few people did pick Hamilton, thinking that eventually they got to turn things around.
Yeah.
It was not even close.
We tired them out. That's what happened.
Exactly.
That's totally it. Yeah. Thanks, Kayla. That's a great spin. I like
Absolutely,
that.
And then lastly, on Sunday's game, we had, to me, a complete shocker. After BC was up 30-0 on them in the first game, they turned it around and destroyed the Lions 41-8.
Yeah, what the...
Fire truck.
How did that happen? I mean, Gainey with 4 interceptions. Obviously, you saw the rust on Jennings, but I mean, even more so, it was just like the BC looked discombobulated.
Yeah, I think, as we talked earlier, the fact that Wally Buono was out there trying to motivate his guys before they even took the field, it really showed. They did not seem themselves at all.
Do you think that they just took Saskatchewan lightly because of the way they dominated the week before?
It's possible. I think if you asked any of them, they're going to say, no, we prepared and everything else. But I think in their hearts, they just maybe thought that they'd have no problems with it, and they maybe didn't give 100%. I don't know. But
yeah, I don't know. It's that was so shocking to say the least. Yeah, because I didn't even get to watch that game. I just got a text from you. Hey, are you watching the game? No. And then as I looked the score, what the hell? One thing I do want to talk about from that game, though, was the CFL released the Diversity is Strength t-shirt.
Yes.
And perfectly timed with all of the things going on down south.
It got released early for sure.
And I loved the shirt. I cannot wait for the CFL to release those shirts. I think there's probably 2 or 3 buyers in this room easily.
Yes.
I think that is just an incredible message and very, very well done.
Yeah, it's one of those things that they weren't ready for it. It was just because of the events going on in the world in Charlottesville. I would love to be able to buy one right now. It's just one. I saw so many memes of, shut up and take my money.
Exactly.
Because every one of us would be like, I'll add that to my closet for sure. And they're not ready for it because it got released early, but definitely in the works. And I can't wait to get one.
Yeah, great move. Great move. I loved this thing for that. So
it put us on the world stage as well. A lot of people were talking about it outside.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about our game coming up this Thursday at IGF against the Bombers. This time, Superfan, I'll start with you. We're for keys to the game for the Esks against the Bombers.
I don't know how many weeks in a row I can say stay healthy, but
stop saying that.
Maybe you're the reason, aren't you?
Maybe that's it. I'm looking forward to seeing if we can just keep Riley upright and our defensive line with the new people in there, if they can still get that pressure on Nichols. When he faces a lot of pressure and he's forced out of that pocket or forced to make those throws earlier, he can be a little rattled, and I'd love to see us do that.
Absolutely. Kayla, your thoughts for what they need to do?
Definitely have good blocking. You need to protect your quarterback. We need Riley. This isn't a time to kind of shove off the gas. Keep him protected. Keep our returners protected. Get them in good range to begin with.
Yeah.
And officiating, please. Can we have some good stuff? Thanks. That'd be great. Awesome. Can you call all the holds and not just the ones that you deem are necessary? Thank you so much. That'd be great.
I'm not arguing in the slightest.
No. I think the biggest thing in this game and what has happened in the past against Winnipeg is we really need to be aware and conscious of keeping the penalties under control.
Yes. We're
already short-manned to some degree, but I'd rather that we don't shoot ourselves in the foot on top of it. And so I think that's going to play a huge role in this game, is to make sure that you are aware that you are really not getting those penalties. So I think that's going to be a huge part of it. I think this is the toughest test we are going to have. Winnipeg is on a 4-game winning streak. They're on a roll right now. They are playing really good football. They are finding ways to win. We are finding ways to win. Although the last couple of weeks, we almost found ways to blow it up. So we need to just be steady and make sure that we get all the way through.
I think as long as you've got Mike Riley on this team, you've always got a chance. So just do it before you run out of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Who are we watching in the game? Kayla, let's start with you this time. Who's the first one you're watching?
I'm just kidding. I'm not going to pick the same people every single time.
He always picks the running back, so it's fine.
I'm cheering for you, Bryant. But I got to go with Ladarius Perkins.
See if he can run up again.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Let's go with you, too.
All right. Sure.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, I'll give you 2. Yeah. It's your first time. You get 2. Yeah,
Sure.
Next time, only 1. Okay.
All right.
Super fan?
I'm going to be watching Nate Hay, who's the team trainer.
What? I'm missing something.
He's the guy that always comes on the field when someone's injured.
I hope he gets to sit the whole game.
I'm really hoping that he just sits on the sidelines doing a crossword, maybe Sudoku.
Yeah.
Something like that. As much as that would be awesome. Actually, I'm going to be watching whoever is in the will linebacker position. We're at the point now where we could be at our 6th or even 7th string guy.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with the team with Andrew Harris on it, you always want to be careful of the fact he is a double threat. He can run that ball and he can catch a pass out of the backfield. So, whoever's in that Will Linebacker spot is going to be the guy I'll be focusing on.
All right, that's a good pick. I am going to be watching, hopefully, for the return of Justin Sorensen, because I believe that his leadership, not that David Beard was bad, I thought he actually had a really good game against Ottawa. But I know that they're still developing that, and it'll be nice to have that leadership back of Sorensen, and I think that actually helps that offensive line. And like you said, Kaylee, that one of the keys is to keep Mike on his feet.
Yeah.
And if that line is all there, let's face it, I really want to cheer for I Am Gru.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. All right, now let's get into our PickEm. So join the group with the link that we do post. The leaders this week are Teely up into number 1 now, Hugo Agogo into 2nd, Chris Vincent in 3rd, Todd Teskey into 4th, and Thomas Pine has moved up back into the top 5.
I tumbled.
You did tumble. Now, it was an interesting way that you tumbled.
Somehow, in every pick I made, picked Edmonton over Ottawa, on here, on esksfans.com, everywhere, and somehow my pick on PickEm was for Ottawa, and I have no idea how.
Well, we thank you for the help.
Yeah.
That was great. Yeah, that was
whatever
good.
it is, dropped me from 2nd down to 6th or 7th. So.
And I am now up to 14th, so slowly climbing there. It's getting close, so we'll have to have some fun with that. All right, now we are going to change up our PickEm a little bit. One thing that I decided that we needed to change, now that we're episode 100, it's time to change this. I'm tired of us having to have the option to pick against the Eskimos.
No.
Because none of us like doing it. None of us want to say that they will lose. We all want to say we want to pick the Eskimos every week. And then we begrudgingly say, I'm picking the other team. I hate it. And I hope I'm wrong. And it's like, that's dumb. We need to stop doing that.
Yes.
So what we are going to do from now on, we will pick the rest of the games, but for the Eskimo games, we are going to steal a little bit of a idea from our friends at the CFL Horsemen, who are kind enough to say that imitation is the greatest form of flattery. We are going to be able to take we're going to take the approach of making a prop bet for the Eskimos every week.
I love it.
So, Kayla, as you are our first guest as we are doing this, and you will have some time to think about this because we are going to pick the other games first. I need you to just come up with some type of stat for me for the Eskimos or the Bombers, something from that game. I will set a line, and then we will pick over or under on what we think is going to happen in the
it could
game.
be like yards rushing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I was going to pick.
Well,
yeah, it could be that.
I'll be editing that whole part out. So it's all good.
Yeah, yards rushing, Mike Riley throwing yards, how many penalties we get, any of
Ryan
those things.
Mitchell yards,
any of those, and then we'll
people
keep
injured.
track of it.
So
let's not pick that one. All right, let's go to our other games first. So our first game, Ottawa versus Hamilton, back in the Hammer, the two basement teams of the East. Let's start with you, Superfan.
Oh, the Desperation Bowl.
I love it.
I really can't take credit for that one. That was something I was posted on Twitter.
Okay.
I get everything from Twitter, let's be honest.
Me too, yeah.
This one is two teams in severe disarray. I think with June Jones now taking over the play calling for the offense, that's going to improve them. But again, not yet. I think that they're going to take a week to get used to that. Ottawa is a much better team in my eyes than their record has been displaying. So I think it's going to be the away team, Ottawa taking this one in Hamilton. Hamilton waiting yet another week to be winning something.
All right. Kayla, who do you got in this one?
I agree. Ottawa.
You're picking Ottawa.
Yeah.
All right. I am going out on a limb because I feel if you look at Hamilton over the past 4 weeks, they've had good game, bad game, good game, bad game. This should be good game. And they're playing a team that has a hard time pulling it out at the end.
Oh, my.
I am going with the Hamilton Tiger Cats to win their first game at home.
Ottawa it is.
Probably. All right, next game, Calgary versus BC in BC. This is obviously the Lions licking their wounds a little bit, and the Calgary Stampeders coming in off a bye week. Kayla, who do you have in this one?
Calgary.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much going to be unanimous. I'm going to go with Calgary as well. I think they're just playing on a different level right now. So
Dickinson getting an extra week to prepare for this, and BC in a little bit of a shock after what's there and not really sure what's going to be happening with Jennings trying to knock that rust off.
Yeah,
I think this is just all chalking up to a Stampeder victory.
Do you think they're almost at are they at the point of having a quarterback controversy in BC or not yet?
No, I don't think so, because I think Lule was also partly injured still.
Yeah.
He took a big shot to the ribs in the previous game. So I don't think there's any controversy. You ask any one of those guys, it's
Absolutely.
Jennings' team.
Jennings' team.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought, but I have to ask the question. All right, our next game is Montreal versus Toronto in Toronto. I am going to be going with the Alouettes on this one. I think they showed last week that they can play pretty well, and until we know for sure that Ricky Ray is playing back in Toronto, I think they're having a little bit of issues, although Fajardo did move the ball a little bit. I don't know if he'll move it enough to be able to pull out a win.
No, I mean, this one being at home, I think it's going to be a lot closer than the game in Montreal that they had last week.
Agreed.
But if Ricky Ray isn't back, and to be honest, even if he is, it's still going to be, I think, a Montreal win.
Kayla?
Well, let's go out on a limb and go Argos.
Oh, well, all right. Okay.
I like it.
That's not a bad thing.
I gotta have faith in Ricky, man. A little
hope
bit.
he's gonna be back?
If he's there.
Yeah, well, if he's there.
Oh, that's all right.
Oh, once an Eskimo, you know what I
There
mean?
you go.
I don't mind that at all.
Nope.
I don't mind that at all. All right, so our Eskimo game. So what is the stat we are going to be going on here, Kayla?
Quarterback pressure.
Oh, I
Quarterback
like
pressures. Now, the Eskimos have done very well with that.
Numbers and
so that'll be, so we're going to go with the number of quarterback pressures. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So number of quarterback pressures from the entire Eskimo defense. I will put the over under at 8.5 quarterback pressures.
I think we're going to go over.
You think
I think because, again, they know that, I mean, they call him Matty Ice. He's always very calm in the pocket, but if he gets rattled, if he gets pressured, then they start to make mistakes, and they know that, so they're going to be going out of their way to be more pressures.
Okay.
No, I agree. Over. I was thinking 9, to be honest. So
that's why I said it. I'm hoping it will be over. Here's the thing: the reason why I dropped it down a little bit. That Winnipeg offensive line
a good one.
Is playing, and you've got to go around a mountain of a man in Bond.
Yeah,
he is an enormous guy. I think there'll be a lot of pressure from the front four, but I don't know if they'll constantly get the quarterback pressure.
Right.
So I'm actually going to go under on this one. I think they
there we
will
go.
end up around 8. So that's why I said 8.5. Join RCFL Fantasy as well. In that league, the leader this week is N Hodge. DK_22 is in second, and Empire Andrew is up to third. I had a decent week this last week.
Clearly did.
Wasn't
Me,
that
not
bad.
so much.
Yeah. Join us in the Eskimo Empire Pod League or the Canadian Football Pod Network against all your favorite podcasters. And of course, check out the CFPN Facebook page for links to all those shows as well, because I want to mention that each time. Well, we've reached the end of episode 100.
Wow.
It was amazing. Again, welcome to the Empire
Absolutely.
team, Kayla. And tell everyone where they find you on all of the online things so that they can find you as we go forward.
Twitter, mostly. We'll just go with that, at Duchess Lombardi.
Perfect. Superfan?
Find me at 56 Parkies and the history at Esks History.
Perfect. And you can find me at Freepalicious and at Esk Empire Pod. Thank you again for downloading, as without you, there is no Empire. And thanks again to Provincial Sleep Group for sponsoring this episode. Check out their new Facebook page for more sleep information and the website psgi.ca for the quick sleep quiz.
I'm a 20.
Are you?
Yes.
All right. Well, that puts you in a mild to moderate risk.
That's right.
All right. Well, I think you know a guy. Just
think
so you know.
I might.
Yeah. Okay. I'm here to help. Show is back next week, and we will have another featured fan. Man, are we humbled to have people listening to get to episode 100?
Absolutely.
Will we not sleep now that we talked to Warren
Fire Trekking
Moon?
Absolutely.
And are we ready to beat the Bombers and move to 8-0?
Absolutely.
For Web Mistress Kayla and Superfan Mike, I am Andrew. Remember, you can't catch footballs with your face, and we will absolutely talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.